All right, welcome to part four of this STAAR work through. This is the 2022 edition. So I'm going to try to make this one a little bit longer so I can get through a few more questions, and let's see how we go from there. Once again, if you want to see the rest of it, please go back to the previous parts to see how I work through those. And I'm going to continue using the same strategies along with using a graphing calculator as well. So what I'll have on me are different colored highlighters. Normally we use them for different information, but for now I'm just looking for information that is important and then writing down what it's asking and then going from there. Remember that, well, most of the time these answer choices, two of them will be obviously wrong. Sometimes they won't, but two of them will be wrong, and the other two you'll have to figure out which one makes the most sense and fits the best. So let's go from there. Number 14 says table shows the cost per year of attending different types of colleges. As you can see, we have public, which is 2-year in-state, 4,000, public 4-year in-state, 11,000, 4-year out-of-state, 28,000, and private 4-year, 38,000. So it's very obvious they're different prices. Student is planning to attend college in 5 years. Okay, the student has saved 1,200 and plans to save another $50 per month over the next 60 months. Based on this information of the student's plan, which information about possible choices for college is true? Okay, so most important thing, we're going to find this table. We don't have to highlight because it's very clear that it's there, but we know that they have already saved 1,200 and they plan to save another 50 per month for the next 60 months. Okay, so if we were writing an equation here, we would call B 1,200, and we would call M of 50x. Okay, and we know that the time is 60 months, so that basically means we're going to multiply this times 60, and we'll see how much we have. So if we put the equation together, your equation would be y is equal to 1,200 plus 50x, and then we're going to see how much money we have. So use your calculator and multiply out 50 months, or $50 times 60 equals 3,000. Okay, so that's $50 a month for 60 months. It's $3,000 plus 1,200. Okay, that gives me, and I'm going to put the work up here too as well. This is y is equal to 1,200 plus 50 times 60 for your months. Okay, that is equal to $4,200. Okay, so then we need to see how much could he afford. That's what they're asking, what is true. Based on this table, if we can afford public in-state 2-year college. So then we will go up here and look for that and say, the student will be able to afford the cost for 1 year at a 4-year college? No, would not. Okay, student will be able to afford out-of-state costs for half a year at a 4-year college. Half a year at a 4-year college. So that means we'd have to divide this by 2, which will put you at like, divided by 2 would equal 5,500. So now, student will be able to afford in-state costs. I'm sorry, this is out-of-state cost for 4 years. So I read that wrong. I apologize. Out-of-state for 4-year, no, absolutely not. That would be 14,000. So they can't afford that. So let's cross it out. Student will be able to afford in-state costs for half a year at a public 4-year college. Okay, no, we just did that one too. The student will be able to afford in-state costs for 1 year at a public 2-year college. Okay, so that is true. So we'll go with that one. Okay, that one was a question that would be just making sure you read carefully. There's not much work there. Just once you figure out this part, and you just read carefully, and it would help you out. Okay, so let's go on to the next one because I spent a lot of time on that question. And remember, some questions do take a little bit more time than others, and that's perfectly fine. Number 15. Fulgurites are pieces of glass in the shape of a cylinder produced when lightning strikes sand. A student found a fulgurite with a height of 21 inches and a diameter of 6 inches. Which equation could be used to find V, the volume of the fulgurite, in cubic inches? Okay, so first thing we need to do, which equation? So do we need to solve if it says which equation? No. Okay, then it says the volume, V for volume. Okay, so we know that for most things, V is equal to BH because that's what your formula sheet's going to say. Okay, so it says, we know this. What is the volume? But then for a cylinder, we need to know that V is equal to pi times R squared times H. Okay, so from there, now we need to figure out which one of these works for us. So remember I said two answer choices are going to be obviously wrong. And the ones that are obviously wrong are C and D because there's no R squared. There's no squared at all. So let's go ahead and cross those out. Okay, so now we're between A and B. And it says that our diameter is 6 inches, right? But our formula doesn't have diameter in it. Our formula has radius. So what will we do? We need to find our R, and R is equal to 3 inches. So therefore, if I had to rewrite this formula, V equals pi times 3 squared, and then the height is 21 times 21. Okay, if I look up there, my obvious answer has to be B. Okay, so that one wasn't too bad. So this is one that would have been a lot quicker to solve, and then we move on to the next one since we spent so much time on number 14. Okay. Once again, if you're liking this content, please subscribe, share with someone because maybe it's helpful for them and they didn't have access to this kind of content. This is for the free. Okay. All right, on to the next one. Number 16, a line graphed on a coordinate grid can be used to determine the number of inches of water added to a swimming pool after different numbers of hours. Okay, this is which statement best describes the slope of the graphed line? Okay, so first off, which statement? So basically we have to read which one of these is true, but slope. Okay, so we need to figure out what it's asking is, what is slope? Okay, so remember we can do rise over run because it's a line. We can make a table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this proportion one since there's a point there. I'm going to find another point that I can use, which is, that looks good. Remember, if your point can't make a cross, it's not a good point. Okay, so like this one's a good point. Okay, and those are the two ones. But I'm going to use the smaller one because I can simplify a little bit easier. So we can see that we went up 12. So that's 12 is my rise. Doing something weird. Hold on, the change pen. Okay. So 12, and then our run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 12 over 5. Okay, so from there we need to be able to reduce that, and if you're not savvy on your fractions, it's perfectly fine. We're going to go ahead and do this with our calculator. So 12 divided by 5, and then we're going to put a decimal there so we can see, because our answers are in decimals, not fractions. So then it gives us 2.4. So m is equal to 2.4. Our slope is 2.4. We go down here and find it. So no, no, no. Our math did the work for us. Look at 2.4. We verify. Boom. Okay. That one's pretty straightforward. Okay. All we need to know is what it's asking for, and we should be good there. Look at number 17. It says the coordinates of the vertices of a rectangle are A, 5, 3, B, 5, -9, C, -1, -9, and D, -1, 3. It says which measurement is closest to the distance between point B and point D in units. Okay, so we're trying to figure out the distance between point B and point D. Okay, so point B and point D, so that means here to here, that means a diagonal. Okay, so if we're trying to find a diagonal, this says Pythagorean theorem. I'm just going to write Pythag. Okay, Pythagorean theorem. And so we're finding C. So what C is equal to question mark, and we know that it's the square root of a squared plus b squared, where your legs are going to be here and here. Okay, so first thing we need to do is figure out our legs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. It's 12. So that means C is going to be equal to the square root of 12 squared plus 6 squared. Okay, or if you want to do the math, 144 plus 36. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that real quick in our calculator. Square root of 144 plus 36. And our calculator tells us 13.4. And it's as closest, so let's see what we got. There it is, 13.4. Now, real quick before we go any further, just to tell you something, if we're looking for the diagonal, if you're thinking logically, this has to be the longest side. We know that it cannot be A, and we know that it cannot be C either, for that matter, because the longest side has to be longer than this one. So really, logically, B is the only answer because all of those are shorter than 12. Okay? So sometimes you don't have to do a ton of math, but we worked it out and we were able to find our answer either way. So this was equal to 13.4. Okay? All right, next one. And thank you for staying along with me. So hopefully this is helpful for you. This is how I would approach a test. And I've been doing math for well over 20 years. So hopefully you pick up a couple of things. And if you have some things you want to add in the comments that might help me out, I'll be appreciative. All right, so number 18. Which of these describes a non-proportional relationship? Okay, so non-proportional relationship is what we're looking for. Remember, non-proportional relationship, the equation for that would be y equals mx plus b. So basically, we're looking for anything with an additional, okay? So if we see y equals this x, that's proportional, okay? The perimeter can be equaled by 3 times x. There's no additional there, right? So that's also proportional, okay? The total surface area in the cylinder with a radius of 1 unit and a height can be represented by 2 pi x plus 2 pi. That is definitely non-proportional, but let's go ahead and read to the next one. The radius of a circle with a diameter of x can be represented by 1/2 of x, okay? Because half of a diameter would give you your radius. So the only one that gives us an additional is this one, okay? They threw a bunch of complicated formulas at you, but what if you understand that we're looking for additional, like rate plus something, then you should have been good to go, okay? So that was pretty straightforward. It just takes a little bit of thought thinking. All right, number 19. See if I can give you some more room so you can see the rest of the question. There we go. On number 19, it says pentagon PQRST was graphed on a coordinate grid. Pentagon PQRST was rotated 9 degrees counterclockwise about the origin to form pentagon P prime, all of that, okay? Which statement is true? All right. So a lot of times when they ask you the type of things for this, it's asking about what happens to the shape. So does it change size or shape? Does the area change size or shape, right? So which statement is true? And we know we see rotated counterclockwise. So it says the area of pentagon new, so area of new is not equal to the area of the old. That's not true. When you rotate something, what happens? It stays the same. So rotation equals congruent. Okay, so now with that, we're going to cross this out because it says not equal, so it's wrong. Pentagon blah is not congruent. Well, that's not true. The perimeter of pentagon blah is greater than pentagon. Okay, so greater, that tells me what? Not congruent. Angles of measure pentagon PQRST are congruent. Okay, to the angles of the original. So new equals old. They're congruent. Okay, so that one is just reading carefully. And I know if you don't want to read it, it's going to be an issue, but we got to read. Okay, we'll do one more, and then we've made it to the halfway part of this, and then we'll stop. Okay, and then we'll do another part and see what we can do with that. Number 20. The scatter plot shows the relationship between the number of nights spent in a hotel and the total cost for the hotel. Which conclusion is best supported? Okay, so now when we say which conclusion is best supported, that basically says prediction. What's your guess? So prediction. Okay, so from there, it says as the number of nights spent in a hotel increase, the total cost for the hotels increase. This is positive, so this means increase and increase, right? So that's fair. As the number of nights spent in a hotel increase, the cost increases. It's true. I'll put check there. Number of nights spent in a hotel increases, the total cost decreases. Well, it's not going down, it's going up. Okay, so this will be negative, so we're going to cross that out. As the number of nights in a hotel increases, the total cost remains the same. Well, the cost is not remaining the same. It's clearly getting bigger, right? So no. There's no relationship between the number of nights spent in a hotel and the cost for the hotel. Also not true because we can clearly see each night I'm spending more money for these, right? So we cross it out. So the only logical best guess would be F. Okay, so we have went through quite a few questions here. Hopefully this is helpful. I said I was going to stop on this one. This was a slightly longer video. I'd want to try to keep my videos in shorter chunks so they're easier to watch and manage. But yes, if you like this content, keep looking out for more. My plan is to make it through this whole STAAR test. So it'll be multiple parts, but I'll make a playlist so that way you can just go through it that way. Remember, you can go Google STAAR release tests, and you can find this and practice at your home on the computer version or the paper version, okay, for free. So be on the lookout for more content once again. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks and have a good day.